I never thought a wedding could turn my life upside down, but there I was, standing in front of my bedroom mirror, staring at someone I barely recognized. My name is Alex, a 24-year-old graphic designer by day, secret crossdresser by night. My passion for feminine fashion and subtle makeup had always been my private escape, a way to explore a side of myself I couldn't show the world. Emma, my girlfriend of 2 years, knew bits and pieces of my secret, but even she didn't understand the thrill I got from fully embracing this other persona. Tonight, however, that thrill was about to become a public spectacle. The invitation arrived weeks ago. My cousin, Sarah, was getting married, and she had a particular vision for her bridal party. All her bridesmaids had to exude elegance and grace, with perfectly coordinated outfits. At first, I laughed nervously when my parents suggested I could fill in as a bridesmaid. Me? A bridesmaid? I asked incredulously, shuffling through the stack of formal invitations. My mother, always mischievous and slightly cunning, smiled. "You'd make the prettiest one," she said. The words made me flush with a mix of embarrassment and curiosity. Could I really do it? And more importantly, would I dare? The challenge excited and terrified me at the same time. It wasn't just about wearing a dress. It was about stepping into a completely different world, one where every movement, every glance, every detail would be scrutinized. I knew the stakes. Weddings are full of photos, gossip, and relatives who notice everything. This wasn't a private experiment in my room anymore. This was a public stage. And yet, I couldn't deny the thrill, the idea of transforming myself completely into a figure of beauty, elegance, and admiration. My pulse quickened just thinking about it. I took a deep breath, moving to my dresser where my collection of outfits, wigs, and makeup lay neatly arranged. Tonight, I would become Alexa, my fully feminine persona. I picked out a soft lavender bridesmaid dress, the fabric smooth and flowing, delicate enough to make me feel like I was walking on air. Laying it out carefully, I felt a twinge of nerves. I had tried countless outfits before, but this time, it wasn't just about fitting into a costume. It was about convincing everyone, family, friends, even myself, that I could embody elegance flawlessly. High heels waited by the side, their delicate straps gleaming under the light. I reached for my wig, long chestnut waves that would cascade over my shoulders, framing my face just right. Every piece had to be perfect. The process of preparing was almost ritualistic. I started with makeup, the brushes soft against my skin. I applied foundation, contouring carefully to soften my jawline and highlight my cheekbones. Blush followed, adding a warm glow to my cheeks, then a subtle eyeshadow palette that made my eyes appear larger and more expressive. Finally, the lipstick, lavender-tinged pink, bold enough to draw attention but still elegant. As I looked into the mirror, my reflection was almost unrecognizable. The person staring back at me had soft features, long lashes, and lips that seemed to whisper confidence. My heart raced, a mix of excitement and fear bubbling inside me. The room around me blurred as I focused on the transformation. With every brushstroke, every careful adjustment of the wig, I could feel the layers of Alex peeling away, replaced by Alexa, the persona I would present to the world tonight. It wasn't just clothing or makeup, it was the posture, the voice, the way I held myself. I practiced walking in the heels, the delicate clack against the hardwood echoing in my ears. My shoulders back, chin slightly raised, and a gentle sway in my hips. Everything had to be natural, fluid, and convincing. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the dress one final time. Could I do it without faltering? Could I survive the scrutiny of dozens of relatives and friends? Emma's voice buzzed in my phone. "You ready, babe?" she asked, teasing but supportive. I smiled, a flutter of nerves in my stomach. "Almost this is bigger than anything we've tried before," I replied. She laughed softly. "You'll be amazing. Just remember, confidence is everything." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Her encouragement steadied me, but it also reminded me of what I stood to lose. If I failed, if even one relative whispered suspicion, my secret life could be exposed. And yet, The thrill of being seen, admired, and fully transformed was irresistible. The drive to my cousin's wedding felt surreal. Every streetlight, every passing car heightened my anticipation and anxiety. In the back of my mind, I rehearsed interactions, smiles, poses for pictures. When we arrived, the wedding venue sparkled with fairy lights and floral arrangements, a picturesque scene of celebration. Bridesmaids were busy preparing, laughter and chatter filling the air. I took a deep breath, stepping out of the car. The heels dug into my feet slightly, but I held my posture, letting the persona take over. As I walked toward the bridal suite, eyes turned. Some whispered compliments, others glanced curiously, but all gazes carried a weight of attention I had never felt before. This was it, my moment to shine, to become the prettiest bridesmaid without holding back. Inside, my cousin Sarah's face lit up as she saw me. "Alex, you look incredible," she exclaimed, her arms pulling me into a hug. My heart soared with a mix of relief and pride. I smiled, letting Alexa take control, bowing my head slightly, hands delicately clasped in front of me. The reflection of myself in the mirror across the room was almost magical, every detail in place, every movement graceful. I could feel my confidence growing, my nerves transforming into excitement. Tonight was more than a wedding, it was a test, a performance, and perhaps a revelation of who I could truly be. As the other bridesmaids fussed with final details, I realized that my journey wasn't just about dresses and makeup. It was about daring to step fully into a world I had only glimpsed in secret. Every smile, every careful step, every interaction carried weight, but also possibility. The stage was set. The audience was here. And I, Alex turned Alexa, was ready to become the prettiest bridesmaid anyone had ever seen. The first part of the evening unfolded like a carefully scripted play, each moment orchestrated to test me in ways I hadn't imagined. As Alexa, I floated among the other bridesmaids, my dress swaying with each step, heels clicking lightly against the polished floor. The room smelled of fresh flowers and subtle perfume, a delicate blend that seemed almost magical. I could feel the eyes on me, some curious, some admiring, others perhaps suspicious, but the thrill coursing through me was undeniable. Every movement was deliberate. I adjusted the skirt of my dress, smoothing the fabric over my thighs, trying to make every gesture elegant. I caught glimpses of myself in mirrors and reflective surfaces, and each reflection reminded me how far I had come from the private, timid Alex who had once experimented with makeup alone in his room. Now, I was visible, standing confidently in public, embodying the feminine persona I had always admired from afar. The nervous excitement had settled into a dangerous exhilaration, a craving for attention, for approval, for validation. Sarah, my cousin and the bride, was the center of everyone's attention, naturally, but she had a knack for making each bridesmaid feel important. She touched my arm lightly, her eyes sparkling. "Alexa, darling, you look perfect. Everyone's going to notice you first." My cheeks flushed as I smiled politely, trying to appear modest while secretly basking in her praise. Her words were both a compliment and a challenge. Could I live up to her expectations without faltering? Could I maintain the illusion without giving anything away? The other bridesmaids began adjusting each other's dresses, smoothing straps and fussing over small details. They were warm, friendly, and entirely unaware of the tension simmering inside me. As I helped straighten a delicate satin hem for one of the girls, I felt the heel of my right foot wobble slightly. My heart leaped. Such small missteps could reveal everything. I steadied myself, adjusting my posture and pressing a reassuring hand to my hip. In that moment, the precarious balance of my secret life and my public persona became painfully clear. One wrong move, one lapse of confidence, and the illusion could shatter completely. I excused myself for a moment and slipped into the adjacent dressing room, seeking a brief respite from the scrutiny. My reflection in the mirror stared back at me. Alexa, perfectly coiffed, with flushed cheeks and sparkling eyes, but underneath the polished exterior, Alex's anxiety simmered. I ran my hands lightly over the silky fabric of the dress, feeling both exposed and empowered. The sensation was intoxicating. I closed my eyes, taking deep breaths, letting the excitement override the fear, reminding myself why I had embraced this transformation in the first place. Tonight was a test, yes, but also an opportunity to explore a side of myself I had long kept hidden. Returning to the bridal suite, I encountered an unexpected challenge. My cousin's best friend, Lila, had arrived, and she was known for her sharp eye and playful teasing. Well, look at you, she said, tilting her head and inspecting me critically. Who knew Alex had such flair? I felt my pulse spike. Her tone was teasing, but there was a dangerous edge. I forced a soft laugh, letting Alexa's calm composure mask Alex's panic. Thanks, Lila. I guess tonight's a special occasion, I replied, smoothing my dress. Every word, every inflection had to be perfect. One slip, one overly casual gesture, and she could see right through me. The evening progressed, and the tension ratcheted higher with every passing minute. Photographers arrived, snapping pictures of bridesmaids adjusting bouquets and bridesmaids sharing laughter. The camera lenses felt like magnifying glasses, scrutinizing my every move. I struck poses, tilted my head slightly, smiled delicately, and prayed that each angle favored Alexa rather than revealing Alex lurking beneath. Every click of the shutter was both thrilling and terrifying. The adrenaline coursing through me made my heartbeat race, my hands slightly tremble, but I reveled in the sensation. I was visible, admired, and performing flawlessly, at least for now. As the ceremony approached, my mind wandered to Emma. She had insisted on coming along for moral support, and knowing she would be watching added a layer of complexity to my performance. I wanted her to be proud, to see the transformation, and understand the joy it brought me. Yet I also feared judgment. Would she see Alexa as a persona or as an authentic part of me? The tension between desire for acceptance and fear of rejection gnawed at me, making each moment in heels feel heavier than the last. During the procession, I noticed small but significant challenges. The stairs leading to the wedding altar were steeper than I expected. Each step required delicate balance, a precise placement of my heels, and an awareness of how my dress moved. I felt the whisper of fabric against my thighs, the slight tug of straps, and the subtle pressure of the wig as I adjusted it discreetly. It was physically exhausting, yet exhilarating, a trial that tested every ounce of composure I had. Every bridesmaid passed with varying grace, but I was acutely aware of the spotlight, the silent scrutiny of guests and family members, and the possibility of failure lurking around every corner. The ceremony itself was a crucible of emotion. Walking down the aisle, I caught glimpses of familiar faces, relatives I hadn't seen in years, friends and family friends, all evaluating, observing, and unconsciously judging. My chest tightened as I focused on maintaining a serene expression, my lips curved into a soft, genuine smile. The bride's radiant happiness added weight to the moment. I didn't want to draw attention away, yet I also couldn't ignore the intoxicating thrill of feeling like the prettiest figure in the room. Each whispered compliment from guests made my pulse quicken, yet each glance of curiosity from someone unfamiliar set my nerves on edge. Maintaining the balance between elegance and authenticity became a constant internal battle. As the vows were exchanged, I felt my composure wobble, not from anxiety about my own role, but from a growing internal conflict. Alex and Alexa coexisted in a delicate harmony, yet the stress of public scrutiny made the boundary blur. I was exhilarated by the attention, by the subtle admiration, but I also feared exposure. A small misstep, a loose strap, a slightly crooked wig, a trembling hand, could undo everything. The duality of my identity pressed heavily upon me, and I realized that tonight was not just a wedding, it was a test of courage, confidence, and secrecy. After the ceremony, the reception began, and with it came new challenges. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and dances commenced. I navigated the crowd carefully, engaging politely with relatives, laughing softly at jokes, and ensuring that Alexa remained flawless. Yet, amidst the celebration, My internal dialogue was relentless. I monitored every glance, every gesture, every subtle hint of suspicion. My anxiety coexisted with the rush of empowerment, creating a heady mix that left me both thrilled and vulnerable. At one point, Emma pulled me aside. Her eyes sparkled, filled with curiosity and warmth. "You're incredible," she whispered, brushing her fingers lightly against my arm. "I've never seen you like this. You look radiant." I felt a surge of relief, followed by an almost intoxicating pride. Emma's approval validated Alexa in a way that words could not convey. Yet, beneath the surface, I wondered, did she truly understand Alex, or was she enamored only with the persona I projected tonight? The question lingered like a shadow, adding to the emotional complexity of the evening. The night wore on, each moment layering suspense, excitement, and anxiety. Dancing in heels, adjusting my dress, interacting with guests, all required vigilance, precision, and a steadfast commitment to the performance. The thrill of public recognition mingled with fear of discovery, creating a roller coaster of emotion that left me both exhausted and elated. By the time the reception began to wind down, I knew one thing. The night was far from over, and the challenges yet to come would test not only my ability to embody Alexa, but also the resilience of my secret identity. The reception hall was alive with laughter, music, and the soft clinking of glasses, but beneath the cheerful atmosphere, my nerves were taut, stretched to the breaking point. As Alexa, I floated from group to group, engaging in polite conversation, smiling when prompted, and laughing at jokes I barely heard. Every movement, every gesture, was a careful performance, a dance between visibility and secrecy. The thrill of admiration surged through me, but with it came the suffocating awareness that one wrong move could shatter everything. The first real test arrived in the form of an unexpected visitor, my cousin's uncle, whom I had never met. He had a reputation for being inquisitive, sharp-eyed, and unafraid to speak his mind. "Well, who is this lovely young lady?" he asked, stepping closer and fixing me with a curious gaze. My pulse raced. Alexa had to remain flawless. Alex could not be seen. I forced a gentle smile, tilting my head slightly. "I'm Alexa, a friend of Sarah's," I said, trying to keep my voice light and airy, masking the tremor I felt inside. He studied me for a long moment, eyes narrowing slightly, and my mind raced through every possible slip-up, every sign that might betray my secret. Finally, he chuckled and nodded, accepting my explanation, but the encounter left me trembling internally, aware of how fragile my illusion truly was. As the evening progressed, the dance floor became a minefield. Couples twirled, friends laughed, and the music swelled, carrying a sense of euphoria. I joined in cautiously, my heels clicking against the polished floor, my dress swirling around my legs. The physical sensations were both thrilling and treacherous. The tightness of the corset, the unfamiliar balance of the heels, and the way the fabric clung to my curves demanded constant attention. One misstep could draw unwanted attention, yet each successful turn, each smooth pivot, bolstered my confidence and reinforced the power of Alexa's presence. Amid the dancing, an unforeseen complication arose. My wig, perfectly styled in the morning, began to slip slightly with every turn and tilt of my head. Panic surged. I discreetly adjusted it, pressing a hand to the crown, hoping no one had noticed. But in a crowded room, one small mishap could snowball into disaster. I could feel sweat prickling at my temples, a reminder of how physically demanding maintaining this persona was. Yet, the adrenaline pumping through me heightened my senses, making me hyper-aware of every glance, every touch, every subtle judgment from those around me. Then came the toast. Sarah's father raised his glass, calling for attention, and the room hushed. I moved to the side, clutching my bouquet lightly, hoping to remain unobtrusive. As speeches flowed, compliments were exchanged, and laughter erupted, I felt a strange duality. Pride in Alexa's elegance, but fear that Alex's true identity might be inadvertently revealed. My stomach churned, My hands pressed against the small of my back to maintain posture, and I kept my voice soft but poised when whispering responses to nearby guests. Each moment was a test of poise, a delicate balance between exhilaration and dread. The tension escalated further during a group photo. Photographers lined up, cameras flashing, capturing moments meant to be perfect and eternal. I positioned myself carefully, tilting my chin, adjusting my shoulders, and ensuring every strand of hair and every fold of fabric was in place. As the flash went off repeatedly, I felt my heartbeat in my throat. One blink, one subtle twitch, one uneven smile, and the illusion could crack. The pressure was immense, yet beneath it, I felt a growing sense of power. Alexa could exist in the spotlight, commanding attention, admired by all, but it came at the cost of constant vigilance, of suppressing Alex completely. The true crisis hit when Emma, who had been supportive but quietly observing, leaned in with a teasing glint in her eyes. "You're amazing," she whispered, brushing her fingers along my arm. "But are you sure you can handle all this attention?" Her words, innocent in tone, struck me like a challenge. Could I maintain this delicate balance under scrutiny from friends, family, and curious onlookers? My mind raced through possibilities, calculating every potential slip-up, every way Alex could accidentally emerge. Just as I regained composure, a louder, more urgent complication arose. One of the bridesmaids, unaware of my internal struggle, accidentally stepped on the hem of my dress, tugging it slightly. The fabric slipped precariously, revealing a hint of my thigh. Panic surged. I grabbed the hem, pressing it against myself and quickly adjusting, praying no one noticed. The room seemed to close in, every sound amplified. The laughter, the music, the clicking of heels. My pulse pounded, my breath caught in my chest, but I forced a calm smile, allowing Alexa's composed exterior to mask the tempest within. The climax of tension reached its peak during the bouquet toss. Guests gathered, anticipation crackling in the air. I positioned myself carefully among the other bridesmaids, balancing excitement and fear. As the bouquet sailed through the air, I leapt gracefully, catching it with both hands. The applause erupted, and for a brief, glorious moment, I felt invincible. Alexa had triumphed, admired and celebrated. Yet, beneath the surface, Alex's anxiety whispered, reminding me that every moment of exposure brought me closer to potential disaster. Then came the most unexpected twist. Sarah's mother, known for her intuition and sharp observation, leaned in and whispered, "Alexa, darling, you carry yourself like a true lady, but there's something about you almost like you're hiding a secret." My blood ran cold. Every fiber of my being screamed. How much had she noticed? Could she see through the persona? The elegant mask of Alexa trembled under the weight of suspicion, and I felt a surge of both fear and exhilaration. This was the ultimate test, the pinnacle of tension, where admiration and discovery collided. I excused myself briefly, retreating to the restroom, heart pounding. The small room was dimly lit, mirrors reflecting my image from every angle. I pressed my palms to my cheeks, breathing rapidly, and whispered softly, "You've come this far, Alexa. Don't falter now." The reflection staring back was flawless, poised, and radiant, but I knew it was fragile, dependent on constant vigilance, skill, and luck. Every detail mattered: the curve of my lips, the tilt of my chin, the precise placement of the wig. One misstep and the carefully constructed illusion could crumble. Returning to the reception, I faced one final challenge: navigating a casual conversation with Sarah's father, who had a reputation for being charmingly perceptive. We exchanged polite words about the ceremony, the food, and the music. Every smile, every laugh, every nod had to be perfect. He leaned closer at one point, examining me with a scrutinizing eye. My pulse raced. I maintained composure, Alexa's voice soft and melodic, my posture impeccable. The moment stretched, every second a test of endurance and subtlety. Finally, he nodded with approval, and I exhaled silently. The crisis had passed, but I knew the night's tension had left an indelible mark. By the time the reception began to wind down, I realized that the experience had changed me. Alexa had survived scrutiny, admiration, and subtle suspicion, emerging triumphant. Yet the duality of Alex and Alexa, of hidden desire and public performance, remained a constant undercurrent. The thrill of transformation, the fear of exposure, and the intoxicating rush of validation had intertwined into a heady mix that would linger long after the night ended. The night was winding down, but the adrenaline coursing through me refused to ebb. Music had softened, guests were slowly trickling out, and the last of the laughter echoed faintly in the grand hall. I stood near the side, adjusting the hem of my dress one last time, trying to calm the tremor in my hands. Alexa had survived the scrutiny, the accidental slips, and the subtle suspicion of family members, but Alex, the part of me that remained hidden beneath the glamorous exterior, still throbbed with anxiety. As I glanced around, I noticed Emma watching me from across the room, her eyes glittering with a mix of pride and something unreadable. Her gaze was both comforting and piercing, a reminder of the secret she now held, and perhaps the silent challenge she had issued without saying a word. Could I maintain this double life beyond tonight? The thought sent a shiver down my spine, even as a small, triumphant smile curled on my lips. Alexa had danced flawlessly in the spotlight, but what came next? That question hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and unresolved. I decided to sneak one final look in the mirror behind a folding screen near the hall's entrance. The dim light reflected Alexa's perfectly styled hair, the curve of my dress, and the delicate sweep of my makeup. For a moment, I allowed myself a quiet victory, an acknowledgement that, for tonight, I had truly become someone else. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement, subtle, deliberate, yet unmistakable. Sarah's mother, the one whose intuition had almost caught me earlier, lingered near the hall, her expression unreadable. She tilted her head slightly, as though studying me, and for a moment, my heart froze. Had she pieced together something? Could she sense the dual identity hidden beneath Alexa's polished exterior? A soft, almost imperceptible noise broke my paralysis, a high heel clicking against the marble floor, growing steadily louder. I whipped around to see who was approaching, and my pulse skyrocketed. A guest, who had stayed behind to retrieve a forgotten item, walked casually in my direction, carrying a small package. Every instinct screamed for me to retreat, to hide, but I forced myself to stay calm, straightening my posture and smoothing the folds of my dress. Alexa could handle this. Alexa had to. As the guest reached me, our eyes met. He smiled politely, completely unaware of the storm of tension inside me. "Excuse me, I think this belongs to someone," he said, extending the package. I took it with trembling hands, thanking him softly, and as he walked away, I let out a silent sigh of relief. But the brief encounter had reminded me how fragile the illusion was, how easily one wrong glance or word could unravel everything I had worked to maintain tonight. Then came the final twist, a whisper that made my stomach plummet. Emma, moving silently from behind, leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear. "You know, Alex, or should I say Alexa," she murmured, her tone teasing but edged with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. My heart skipped a beat, caught between exhilaration and fear. She knew more than she let on, and her words hinted at a future where my secret might not remain entirely mine. I could feel her gaze piercing through me, evaluating, testing, and teasing all at once. I wanted to speak, to laugh it off, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I nodded subtly, forcing a composed smile, letting Alexa's confident mask hide the storm of emotion beneath. The thrill of transformation, the intoxicating rush of being seen and admired as someone completely different, pulsed through me. And yet, a dark whisper of anxiety lingered. What if tonight was only the beginning? What if the line between Alex and Alexa began to blur in ways I couldn't control? As the final guest departed and the hall emptied, I remained behind, lingering near the center, adjusting my dress and checking my reflection one last time. The moonlight streaming through the tall windows cast long shadows, painting the room with a quiet, almost ominous beauty. Alexa looked perfect, poised, radiant, but Alex's hidden tension simmered just beneath the surface. The duality of my identity, the delicate balance of secrecy and display, had reached a crescendo tonight, and the consequences were far from over. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and a shadow fell across the polished floor. My breath caught. Who was returning at this hour? I could feel every muscle in my body tighten, every instinct screaming for vigilance. The suspense was unbearable. And then, a familiar voice, calm but charged with intent, broke the silence. "We need to talk." My heart leapt into my throat, and the world seemed to narrow to that single, haunting sentence. I froze, unable to move, as the door slowly closed behind her.
Emma.
Her eyes glimmered with something I couldn't read. Approval? Curiosity? Mischief? Or a warning? The night had tested me, pushed me to my limits, and left me exhilarated. But now, in the stillness, uncertainty wrapped around me like a suffocating cloak. Alexa had survived, but what awaited me in the shadows of this final confrontation? The answer was unknown, and the suspense was unbearable. And just like that, the story paused, a delicate, unresolved moment suspended in the air. Would my secret finally be revealed? Would Alex and Alexa merge in ways I wasn't ready for? Or would I find a way to navigate this tangled web, maintaining control over my dual existence? Only the next chapter would tell, and for now, the audience was left holding their breath, teetering on the edge of anticipation. What do you think Emma has planned? Will she uncover Alex's secret completely? Or is this part of a thrilling test? Comment below with your predictions, and don't forget to like and subscribe to follow Alexa's journey in the next episode.